development, and then eventually vice president of drug substance and process development and site lead. So process development is the organization that actually takes our clinical processes and basically scales them for manufacturing, for broad commercial manufacturing. So it's a very, you can equate that to like a product development group that takes a proof of concept and then develops it further to get it ready for commercial launch. So Rohini has an undergraduate degree from Osmania University in Hyderabad, India, a master's degree from University of Pune in India, of course, and a PhD in biology from State University of New York at Binghamton. She did her postdoctoral fellowship at University of Michigan and UCLA, both great institutions. She has worked at Amgen her entire career. So she must have joined when she was like 20 years old, which is great. Like myself, I hope. We are very happy to have Rohini with us today to host this session on biotechnology, where she'll take us and share her career journey, introduce you all to what biotechnology is, what it means, and share about various career paths in the field of biotechnology and at Amgen. So with that, Rohini, please take it away. And thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us.
Thank you for the kind introduction, Harish. This is my first time doing a session like this, and I am really glad to be invited to this session. I really hope you find it useful. So let me just start off, telling you a little bit about myself, okay? I basically grew up in Hyderabad, in India. I did my schooling there. And after my schooling, I went into the sciences, I should say. I studied biology, physics, chemistry during my intermediate years. That's what it's called in India. Those are 11th and 12th equivalent. And then I pursued a bachelor's in science and then went into doing my master's. And as I was pursuing, my high school, I was very, very fortunate to have had the exposure to a few of my relatives and who were in the science side. So I had an uncle who was a cardiologist and an aunt who was a gynecologist. And every time I met with them, as growing up in India, they would be talking about all these different patients that they were trying to treat with the medicines that existed. And they would always share with us the stories about, their sort of challenges and how they didn't have enough medicines that addressed all the diseases that their patients would, come to them with. And so very early on, I was exposed to the science side. I think I was fortunate to be surrounded with some of the relatives who wanted to pursue science and were successful in the scientific side. So my interest grew within high school from pursuing and studying science to wanting to apply science to improve the lives of patients and just to improve wellness in general. So as a kid, I don't think I appreciated what it meant, but my interest definitely continued to grow. And as Harish pointed out, I was surrounded by my relatives who pursued science, but I also had the fortune of being in a family where our parents were, very focused, determined, and they always encouraged us to focus on academics. So I grew up in a, a household where academics was given a lot of importance. And, I felt like it was important to focus, put my head in the books and study, and that part was going to be really critical to the success later. And so I, followed more of a path that I was exposed to very early on, and my interest continued to grow. And today, as Harish said, I have been really fortunate to be working at Amgen, and I pretty much joined the company 23 years ago. And I have to tell you, I love my job. I love what I do. My passion for science just continues to grow. And the job that I have today in bringing medicines to patients really feels like the right choice I made. Anytime I think back about the number of hours that I have to put in to do my job, or the challenges that we face on a day-to-day basis, I always go back very stimulated, because the team I work with, the types of solutions we are able to bring forward are so gratifying that it all makes it worth it. So I as I look back now, I have to say, I don't know if I gave it enough thought as I was growing up, if that was the right field for me. I knew I was very interested. I knew I would be able to do it and do it well. But as I think back, and really reflect on where I am today and what the choices I made and the decisions I made, I feel very, very happy that I was able to pursue science and, really pursue the career that I did, and join a company like Amgen and pursue biotechnology. It's really very rewarding. And what I was inspired by was really the exposure, I would say, to the many unanswered questions. So there were so many unanswered questions in science. And I think that is what inspired me, that there was an opportunity, if you pursued research or if you pursued science, that you could answer some of those questions. And as an individual, I think I've always been very inquisitive. I've always been very curious in how things work, and why things happen the way they happen. And so I wanted to always have answers to those questions. And many times as we would study science, I think whether you're studying metabolism or whether you're studying the different sort of equations in physics, there's so much unknown, right? There is the relationships and the first principles that are needed to understand how a living cell actually functions, how that cell actually divides, how that cell actually, replicates. I mean, all of those questions felt like the right questions for me as I was growing up, and I wanted to really pursue, and being an inquisitive individual, I wanted to really pursue and address those questions if they weren't answers. And very early on, I think having that exposure and also knowing that it's not easy. That's one thing about science. I'll tell you, in my 23 years at Amgen, that it does take effort. It does take a lot of integration of thought. It does take pursuing experiments. Many experiments can fail. You don't always get the answer you hoped for. But if you do have a hypothesis that you think, this is why things are happening, you can get into the lab, test that hypothesis, and get to know whether that is the right answer or not. So I felt that, being an inquisitive person and being curious, being able to answer some of the questions that don't have answers today and find those answers for a better tomorrow was like the right choice. So for me, as I reflect back, it feels like I made the right choice. My expertise really focused on, as I finished my high school and went into bachelor's and master's and my PhD, I really chose to study cell and molecular biology. So cell molecular biology were the two areas that, I would say 25 years ago were prime areas where we were studying how to functionate protein. We had recombinant DNA technology evolved to a point where we could express, not native proteins recombinantly into cells. And I was able to study and functionate a protein that we didn't know what the function was for that protein as I was pursuing my PhD. And I was also able to engineer proteins and make proteins to answer the questions associated with what is the structure of this protein or what is the function of that protein. If that function was known to be a critical function, then that protein was developed or a drug was developed against that protein. So all of those experiments that I was able to do associated with cell molecular biology, protein engineering, really provided me that early entry position as a scientist into Amgen. So after my PhD and my postdocs at University of Michigan and at UCLA, where I studied recombinant DNA technology, cell biology, molecular biology, I was then able to land a job at Amgen. And at Amgen, I was able to then, as a scientist, study how to engineer proteins to make them last longer in the body. How can I make proteins that were going to become better therapeutics? And but through that science and that studying that science, I was then able to bring forward a couple of our products that are in the pipeline now, where I was able to contribute to. And those types of experiences really then helped me kind of grow from being a scientist working on the bench to then leading a group of maybe 10 at the beginning, then it grew into 20. And today I have a group that is global at 7 different sites. And my current group is about 400 scientists and engineers that work across 7 different sites. And as Haraj said, I also have the pleasure of being a site head for our Amgen, Massachusetts site. And here at our site, we basically have several disciplines cross-functionally coming together to advance our products for Amgen. So maybe I'll pause there. I hope my career journey sort of helps you get a sense of how my interest in science from high school evolved to where I am today. And we can address your questions or any aspects that my journey might have triggered as thoughts for you, maybe during the Q&A. Okay. I think you're muted.
Yeah, thank you, Rohini. So we have a short trivia on biotechnology. So if all of you can, go to take your phones and go to kahoot.it. So we're going to play this on Kahoot. And as we go through the questions, then Rohini will teach us some of those biotechnology concepts or, go over those ideas. So let me share my screen and I'm putting the link on the chat. It's kahoot.it. And so you will see the questions and the answer choices. And for each answer choice, there'll be a color code. And on your phone, you will only see that color code, and you will have to pick the right answer based on that. So let me share my screen. Can you see my Kahoot screen?
Yes. We can see now.
Yeah. So let's wait for everybody to. So that's your PIN. So on kahoot.it, you will enter this PIN number and you can join the game. Okay, so now there's a few more joining. All right, let's start the trivia. People can join after we start as well if they're having any difficulty joining. Okay, so yeah, we go on to the biotech trivia. What is biotechnology? So you have 30 seconds to answer this question, and your answer choices are here. You'll have to click on the color on your phone to pick the right answer. Okay, 73 people got it right. So the right answer is manipulation of living organisms to produce useful products. And so Matthew is leading the scoreboard. So I'll leave it to Rohini to explain now. So.
Yeah, that is the right answer. So if we think about biotechnology, as Una just mentioned, it is a science that utilizes biology. It's the knowledge of how our living cells actually work and how one can use living cells to make a useful product. So you take biology, you use technology, like I talked about, recombinant DNA technology. It's like the use of knowledge to insert a gene or a DNA into cells is recombinant DNA technology. So when you think about biology, is really the knowledge of how living organisms work. Technology, let's just take an example of recombinant DNA technology, where we can insert DNA into cells using vectors, using plasmids. That as a tool together can allow us to then make a very useful product that we can then bring forward to treat patients and diseases. Well done.
Thank you. We move on to the next question. Which of the following is not an application of biotechnology? All right, so the correct answer is electric car, and 79 people got it right. So let's see who's, yeah, again, Matthew is leading the scoreboard.
Yeah, so this one, I think we have 3 of the answers that are related to biotechnology, and you chose the right answer by saying electric car is not, because genetically modified organisms are used in one. You know, Una, I lost the question. Maybe if we can go back to it, we can talk about the 3 different points that we had in the question. One was about purifying water. Purifying water can also use biotechnology. So technology that allows us to, you know, remove impurities from the water to make water clean. And that's why that's the right answer. And also we had microorganisms. And so, you know, those are living cells. So all those 3 are the right answers. And actually it's the electric car. I mean, all those 3 are related to biotechnology. And so the way the question was framed, you chose the right answer.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't go back to the other
No
screen.
worries, no worries.
Yeah. So, yep. What is Amgen's mission? So to serve patients is the correct answer. I'll let Rohini explain that.
Yeah. And I think, you know, there's a lot of close answers on that grid. So I think the one many of you chose, which is to create innovative medicines to cure diseases, is also a right answer. However, our mission is really to serve patients. So when we think about what we do on a day-to-day basis, we come to work because we want to bring forward medicines to serve patients. So our mission, our everyday purpose, why we exist, is really to bring medicines to patients, okay? And we'll get through a short video here to that will describe from some of our colleagues at Amgen how they view what we do at Amgen, okay?
I'm just going to quickly stop sharing and share it with optimized for video. Okay, so now I'll play the video. Can you see my screen now?
The mission of Amgen is really to serve patients.
Se deve ao fato de sabermos a finalidade do nosso trabalho, servir aos pazientes.
La nostra missione è essere sempre al servizio dei pazienti con la nostra attività quotidiana.
What drew me to Amgen is really sincerely and authentically a company that puts patients at the center.
Our aspiration as a company is to be the best human therapeutics company in the world.
We don't aspire to be mediocre or just average. We want to be the best.
To be science-based means to be data-driven.
Science is what I do here. Science is what drives discovery.
Being science-based means we use an analytical approach to ask tough questions and solve complex problems.
We compete every day to provide a competitive advantage.
We motivate each other, we challenge each other so that we can perform our best.
To be ready to compete, but at the same time, we have to do it in a very respectful way.
Amgen brings value to patients by bringing safe and effective molecules.
Okay, so going back to the Kahoot. On to the next question now on Kahoot. On average, how long does it take to develop and deliver a medicine from initial discovery to the marketplace? 10 years is the right answer. Matthew is still leading the scoreboard. Oh, sorry, I think I jumped too quick. Sorry, if you want to go ahead and answer this question as well. If you want to become a scientist in the field of biotechnology, what should you study? So the correct answer is biology and chemistry. Can you hear me? Just to be.
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, all right.
Well done.
All right, so Matthew Cooler and Woohoo win the Kahoot game, the trivia game. All right, let's go back to all right. I hope you learned something about biotechnology and about Amgen while playing the game. And now I again hand over to Rohini to walk us through the Biotech 101.
Yeah, Una, will you share the slides or do you want me to pull them up?
I'll share the slides.
No. So I really hope, the trivia and the background I provided to you and, my career journey really set you up to understand what a biotechnology company does. But just to take a deeper look, we thought it would be really good to share with you just for the next few minutes, about Amgen. Amgen is, one of the biotechnology companies. And so since this is sponsored by us, we wanted to just make sure that you understood a little bit more about Amgen. So at Amgen, our mission is really to serve patients, okay? And when I say mission is to serve patients, what I really wanna, share with you is that we come to work every day, thinking about how we can bring forward a medicine that provides a fight to the disease. So there's so many diseases where we don't have a medicine for, or at least a really effective medicine for, and that's what really drives, us coming to work every day at Amgen. And there's so many of our colleagues at Amgen, I'll tell you, in my last 23 years, where I've been able to experience people just stopping what they do, making personal sacrifices, getting on a flight, going to another site if we have a challenge. And when we're manufacturing a medicine or we're running a clinical trial, or for any reason, if we can't supply a medicine to the patient, they stop everything they do and they go and address that need. And it's so inspiring and motivating to be around a team that is dedicated and makes those sort of choices that then allow us to really fulfill our mission within the company. So let's go to the next slide. So Amgen, as a biotechnology company, as I said, was founded in 1980. Okay, it has grown to be one of the world's largest independent biotechnology companies. We just celebrated 40 years. And so, our company is 40-year-old. And we have presence now, and our medicines reach over 100 countries. And we are treating with our medicine over 8 million patients, okay? Next slide. Here are some of our products, okay? If you haven't heard about some of these products, I just want to give you a snapshot. Not all products are on this slide. I'm just sharing with you some of the main products, okay? So one of our blockbuster product that really, founded Amgen's sort of mission was Epogen. Epogen is a recombinantly made product. It uses a living cell to make the product, okay? It uses living mammalian cells to make the product. What it does is it acts as a hormone, erythropoietin. So in patients that have low red blood cell count, this product is given to them to raise their hemoglobin level. And this product has been prescribed for over 20 years, okay? And as you'll see on this slide, there are other products. Just take another example. The product that is shown here called Aranesp. Aranesp is a better version of erythropoietin, okay? Similar to erythropoietin, it also helps anemia. It also helps build red blood cells in patients. And both of these products are given to patients that have severe anemia. And another product worth talking about is Neulasta or Neupogen, okay? It's another hormone that we discovered at Amgen. It's called Neupogen. It's a better, longer lasting version of Neupogen. So not only we discover novel medicines, but after discovering and launching a product, we work on that medicine to make it better. Sometimes it's longer lasting, sometimes it's improved safety, sometimes it addresses better efficacy, okay? So maybe let's move to the next slide. Having talked about a few examples of these products, I also want to share with you that the products we talked in the previous slide really belong in these few therapeutic areas. So our focus at Amgen is in these 6 therapeutic areas, okay? Oncology, hematology, cardiovascular disease, inflammation, bone health, neuroscience, and nephrology. So these are the different therapeutic areas for which we develop products. And there are many diseases in each of these therapeutic areas that we are trying to develop products and launch products for to help patients, okay? Next slide, please. Now, what distinguishes Amgen, we feel, are these 3 different areas. And the first one is our effort to understand the science. As you heard from some of our colleagues in that video, we're very science-based. So what that means is we go to the fundamental understanding of the pathway for which we are trying to develop that product. And so we advance pioneering medicines because we can understand that science. And through that understanding is where we bring forward a novel medicine. Some of our medicines like Aimovig, that is for the treatment of migraine, just in the last couple of years, we received the Best Innovation Award for that particular medicine because it is a novel way to treat a G protein coupled receptor. So since our product's efficacy was compared to other products and was found to be superior, we got that innovation award. The other thing that distinguishes us is our innovative research. When we think about innovative research, what we try to do is bring forward pioneering technologies such as a xenomouse technology. A xenomouse technology that we have at Amgen allows us to make human monoclonal antibodies, okay, that no other company actually can make. So at Amgen, we also, in our small molecule area, have invested in novel technologies to identify chemical molecules and chemical structures that other companies cannot actually make. So our research is really focused on novelty And we're always looking for a better, improved technology that will then allow us to bring forward a molecule that then we can convert into a medicine, okay? The third area that distinguishes Amgen is its world-class biomanufacturing capability. The reason we think we are very good at manufacturing is because, you know, the science of manufacturing, whether it is a biologic that is a protein like an epogen, or a small molecule or a pill that you can swallow like a Tylenol, for example, you know, the science of manufacturing can be very complex. You have to have very precise ways of making a product, okay? You have to have really good controls to make sure that you don't have any impurities and your product remains safe. And that always you're making a product with a certain profile. So Amgen has invested in the last 40 years a lot in building the best team. So we feel like we are very good at biomanufacturing because we hired some of the best scientists out there who have invested their careers in biomanufacturing. We also feel that, you know, we've had a track record of reliably providing our product to patients. Within our operations group at Amgen, we have a slogan or a mantra, we call it. It's called every patient, every time. So we have never missed doses for any of our products when we needed to treat our patients. So that differentiates us compared to other companies, okay? Next slide. I think I spoke to this slide already. So having you know, discussed a little bit about Amgen, now let's just look at, you know, how Amgen uses biotechnology. I think there's a box, Yona, that I need to minimize if there's a way.
Okay. You want me to?
Let's go to the next slide.
Okay.
If there was a way to get the, what is this banner out of?
Oh, this.
There, I got it. Okay, so the next few slides, I just want to talk to you a little bit about, you know, the main areas that are critical in a biotechnology company to make medicine, okay? So making medicines requires a lot of different specialists and a lot of different experts coming together. So as shown in this slide, you know, we need scientists in the research area, we need scientists and engineers in the manufacturing side, we need business experts in the sales and marketing side, we would need, you know, experts in operations who have experience in supply chain, for example, in operations, and we would need data science and technology. So these areas, you know, are just to, this is the landscape of all the different experts that we would need at Amgen to really bring forward a molecule and really convert that molecule into a medicine. Next slide. When we think about research, what research really focuses on is conducting the experiments to validate the target, analyze that data to discover which pathway or which biology should we really interrogate, okay, to change a person's disease, how to slow down or how to stop a disease. The experiments are all conducted in research. So this is where we actually discover the targets that we would like to make a drug for, okay? Conducting these experiments and analyzing the data really requires us to use, as I said earlier, some very fundamental technologies like understanding biochemical pathways that affect the disease. We look at genetic variations. We look at, you know, the possible, the various, I guess, biological pathways that we should also not inhibit for specificity of a drug. So the possible drug targets that would modify a disease, but we will also during the experimentation need to determine which of these targets we should not hit using that drug so we can then advance a molecule that is very safe. So if you wanted to go into the research side of Amgen or any biotechnology company, you would want to consider studying biology, chemistry, or biochemistry. All three areas would provide you the opportunity to pursue becoming a scientist. I started my career as a scientist in this way. You can also, depending on which degree you pursue, you could be a lab manager or a lab technician in research if you study biology, chemistry, or biochemistry. Now let's look at another major area within Amgen, that is needed to make a medicine. This area is referred to as manufacturing. Now this is where we take promising new medicines from research. We work with them very closely in collaboration and make sure that we can actually design and develop a process that we can then transfer to a manufacturing group to make the medicine. So the group I am part of is called Process Development, as Harish said. And the process development group works very closely, like my team and I, we work very closely with the research scientists. As soon as we know that there is a molecule that we feel has the right attributes to inhibit a certain target or a certain pathway, we will take that molecule, we will, as process development scientists, then design and develop the process to make that molecule. Will provide that knowledge of how to then manufacture that process, working with our manufacturing colleagues, okay? So this is the group that provides the material or the, I would say, conducts all the supply, provides all the supply to help our company make, study this molecule in clinical trials, as well as later provide that supply to launch that product and bring it to market. Next slide. So when we're thinking about manufacturing, it's really, working with research, like I said, and answering those unanswered questions. What you're seeing here in the picture are some of my colleagues from my team who are conducting the experiments to determine how to design and develop a process for a biologic product, and then deciding what pH, what temperature, what type of duration to make that medicine, and then providing that knowledge to manufacturing to then ultimately bring forward that medicine to market. Next slide. And when you're thinking about manufacturing, there's really a lot of diversity needed for us. So, you could have students who might have pursued biology, chemistry, biochemistry, biotechnology, even medicine, biostatistics, engineering, pharmacology. All of these different disciplines could work within manufacturing, and we would be able to, depending on which medicine we are trying to manufacture, these types of core expertise can be applied in various groups at Amgen in manufacturing. again, in manufacturing, these types of disciplines can enable or provide an opportunity for one to become a scientist or a manufacturing technician or an engineer. And there's also a team that works to codify everything that is done, and we call it the regulatory affairs group. And in this regulatory affairs groups, the experts actually work with our Food and Drug Administration team and allow us to then provide our molecules, all that information that we generate in process development or in manufacturing to those regulatory affairs agencies. And that then enables us to get approval for our products. Next slide. The other areas, I won't go into depth, but we talked about are sales and marketing. One of the areas where sales and marketing really educates doctors, patients about the medicines that we're making. They also create the product brochures. They provide the branding. They really help visit the doctor's offices and really help us gain that awareness that is needed before launching a product and also after launching the product, and making sure that product actually reaches the patients that we have made it for. The next sort of larger discipline is the business support. This is the group that will keep the company, focusing on the right priorities, making sure that we have the right teams, through human resources, that we are able to recruit, attract, retain some of the best people that we need in the company. We have, experts in finance, in law, because we also have to make sure that we get patents for the products that we're working on, and make sure that our innovation, is filed such that they're not, the other companies are not working on the same product that we are working on, and that we have competitive advantage through that. We also have, several project management type roles in the company that help us sort of keep the projects on track, as well as help us prioritize which projects we need to focus on. A new area, I have to say, that has been pretty, is emerging in the last 10 years or so, has been data science and technology. This area, I think, is very prime right now for investment. We really need a very strong digitalization, we call it, effort in companies like Amgen, because through this effort, we feel we can better predict how our products will behave, which products to focus on. So our ability to predict and prevent failures is a very important focus for us in the future. And so investing in data science and technology, if folks, you're interested in high school in data science, this is a very, very prime area for you to consider, because companies, biotech companies like Amgen, are really requiring many experts to help us sort of predict behaviors, predict our clinical trial outcomes, predict our manufacturing processes, and prevent failure. This is one way to speed up our efforts as well, so we can accelerate, like we talked about in the trivia. It takes us 10 years to bring a medicine to patients, and that's too long. If we can bring a medicine to patients in 2 years, like right now in the pandemic, as you're seeing, many companies are working on bringing a vaccine or a recombinant monoclonal antibody within a year. And so, this area, I think, is a very important area for us to improve our processes, organize data into useful insights, and to be able to predict better. Next slide. There are other things you should think about while you're in school. If there are leadership opportunities, like we talked about, organizing information, like project management, if there are programs that, really provide you an opportunity to lead, or to communicate and organize some of the information that you're generating, I would highly encourage you to consider those, because this does become a very important sort of skill set when you pursue a job in a company like I am in the biotechnology sector. And I know many of you are attending this hackathon over the weekend, so I don't need to be talking to this audience, I think, to think outside the box. But I just want to say that, hey, you seem to be very passionate, driven, continue to do what you're doing. I think we need a lot of folks interested in science and to help us, advance medicine. And I just want to acknowledge through this slide that, science is what will provide the solution. And I think you hear this every day. If you're watching the news, we're all waiting for that, solution for COVID-19. And, I can't wait to go back to normalcy again, right? So I think everybody needs science, and science needs everyone. I am so glad that we also have partners like Khan Academy. We have our Amgen Foundation, Lab Exchange, as well as a scholars program at Amgen to inspire, many of our students like yourselves to invest in science. We're very passionate about what we do. There is an unmet need, and this need is going to continue. And I think this biology revolution is going to get even better over the next decade. So I hope, through this information and through your sort of, investments that you're making as students, you'll be able to get the right choice for you, and you'll be able to join some of us on the scientific side and join companies like Amgen.
All right, we're at the end of the presentation. And I think Rohini, next we wanted to share the video about AMA, which is our Amgen Massachusetts site. So you can, the virtual tour. So let me share the video. Sorry.
Yeah, the video should give you a sense of what our everyday, job looks like. And you'll hear from some of the scientists as well on sort of their thoughts about working at Amgen.
You can see my screen, right? Oh, okay, I think I need to, let me go back and, yeah, I have to optimize it for, sorry about that. Is it buffering or?
You are in box, right? Are you on Pulse network or?
Oh, okay.
That is possible.
Okay, give me 1 second. I am on Pulse, so do I have to disconnect or?
No. You should be.
No, I am on Pulse. Yeah, it is on Pulse and I'm playing the video. You can see my screen, right? It's trying to play. But...
Yeah, it's trying to play, but it's not showing. Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay. Okay, give me 1 second and I will quickly download it and then I should be able to play it. Yeah.
Hello, everybody. I'm Rohini Deshpande. I'm the Amgen, Massachusetts site head. I'm part of process development, which is within operations. I've been with Amgen for 22 years, and it is my privilege to invite you to watch our Amgen, Massachusetts site virtual video. You will get to see the capabilities that we have built at AMA and get to meet the colleagues who are going to introduce to you all the work that goes on at our site. I hope you really enjoy it. Thank you.
We take things from early phase 1 trials. We develop a process for how to manufacture our drugs. The importance of the data is we want to be able to see what's going on in our manufacturing and our clinical manufacturing areas, right? So if we can see real-time data, what's going on, we were able to advance the idea of if there's a problem in the process that we're seeing early on before there actually really is a process, some sort of, or issues, we can then, make adjustments to it before it becomes a bigger issue.
In this lab, things are changing all of the time. So we're constantly looking at technologies, how to do that best, and figuring out what will work best for manufacturing in the future. We're very small here, so everything is very team-oriented here. Everyone takes a piece, does their part, and when someone needs help, you jump on board and you help out. What we do here is we investigate new methods of manufacturing products that can be antibodies, that can be peptibodies or proteins, it can be actual biological cells as well. And so what we do here is we investigate new methods of manufacturing these products to get them as quickly to patients as possible.
What the Scale-Up Lab does is it allows our chemists and engineers to get hands-on experience with the manufacturing process so that they better understand the processes that they're developing. We have large-scale reactors, pilot scale, so 60-liter reactors that we can run reactions in and produce kilogram quantities of material. They have fume hoods, a lot like the one I'm sitting in front of, but they're walk-in fume hoods, and they're big enough that you and 2 of these 60-liter reactors can fit inside. And it's a different working experience too, because in here we're suited up with just safety glasses and a lab coat, but when you're working in there sometimes you're in a full Tyvek suit with breathing air for safety because you're handling much larger quantities of hazardous materials. What I like about working at Amgen is the science. The science has always kept me engaged, and I feel like there's always something new that Amgen is trying to do, some new modality, some new method of manufacturing, and some new process that I can always work on. But here at AMA, we have the synthetic scale-up lab, and that's a lab where we can demonstrate our processes on larger scale so that we can better understand those processes before we transfer them out for larger scale manufacturing.
This is a next generation lab. It's very open concept. There's a lot of bright walls, bright lights. And thirdly, we do a lot of technology development here, where we evaluate novel technologies for purifying proteins and eventually being able to transfer that to large-scale manufacturing if it's a successful technology.
Essentially what we do is we develop methods to kind of track and kind of dig down deep and see changes in the protein, to see what's significant and what's not, essentially. If you don't have to throw away a protein, you know, that's a lot of time, effort, money.
So here in the lab, we have many different bench scale machines in order to do our experiments. That being small bioreactors in which we do our cell culture experiments, which have various controllers and lots of tubing associated with it. We also have purification machines, chromatography machines as well, which will purify our proteins of interest from undesirable attributes and impurities. We also have a lot of analyzers, many different ways to both understand our protein, but also the attributes of the protein as well, covering all the benches in our labs.
The mission of our group is really to develop and deploy commercial processes to support our synthetic drug substances. And these labs here are really where the action happens. This is where we transform molecules into medicines and where chemists and engineers work together with analytical chemists to develop processes that we then can transfer to manufacturing facilities. And overall, it's just an intellectually very stimulating environment that we have here.
We focus on device technologies, and we have a lot of 3D modeling capability. We can characterize a lot of the processes that go on to get the therapeutic to the patient. Patients that need this type of care at home, and that has definitely shown light into how important the work we all do is. You never go to work and think, you know, why am I going to work today? It's always, you know why, and you feel great about it.
I really like seeing the interaction between what I do and how it affects different parts of the drug development process all the way to the patients. So I have to talk to people who are designing the drugs and understand the disease biology, and being able to draw in those needs from very different people in very different areas and see how that affects my decisions and what we do for a program is really interesting and really satisfying.
We really focus on the technology. We really look at what does the future of manufacturing look like? What is available on the shelf now for use? And what are vendors actually working on that we can give them feedback to kind of guide them in the direction that we need to go as a pharmaceutical industry in general. So everything we do in here is with an eye towards the patient. How can we make it more cost effective? How can we do it faster? How do we get them what they need?
All right, that brings us to the end of the video and end of our Biotech 101 session. Thank you very much, Rohini, for joining us on a Saturday to share with this over 100 plus high school students about your journey and also about your knowledge on biotechnology and sharing what Amgen does, right? Serving patients and how passionate we're all about it. Thank you very much, Rohini. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I wish you the very, very best as you make your choices. And I hope some of you get inspired to walk the same journey and join, some of what we are doing to serve patients. Okay, thanks.
Bye. All right. Yeah, we now move on to the next session, which is, as you would have seen in one, that Amgen is collaborated with Harvard, and we have the lab exchange, as where high school students or anybody can go and learn a lot about science, as well as try out simulations and experiments virtually online. So we have with us today, Lab Exchange ambassadors, Ashley Young and Deborah O'Reilly, who are going to share with us the Lab Exchange platform. So you can later on go and play around the Lab Exchange platform. I now hand over to Ashley.
Thank you, Una, and hello, everyone. So I'm from the Amgen Foundation. And over the past 30 years, the Amgen Foundation has given over $175 million just towards science education initiatives, because we believe the next generation is, the solutions to all that's happening now and the things to come in the future. So our goal is really to inspire and support the next generation in their science education. I'm joined today by Deborah O'Reilly and Miss Mary Lou, both of who are science teachers and great users of the Lab Exchange platform. They're going to check it out with you today, show you what resources are there available for everyone for free online, including some incredible simulations of laboratory experiments. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Miss Mary Lou and Miss Deborah O'Reilly. Thank you.
Great. Hi, everyone. I'm just going to share a few details about what the platform is and why you should use it. And then we're actually going to jump into most of what today is exploring. So real quick, we're going to give you a background on what Lab Exchange is, what it offers. And then again, the focus is those virtual lab simulations. So all in all, this is a platform for both teaching and learning. From the teacher side, that's the way I use it, but really it's designed for learners everywhere. It's meant for everyone, everywhere to learn science, but it also holds the role of creating a science community to connect students, teachers, and researchers. So it's not just a social network platform for one level, it's intended to sort of bring you into science, help you learn more about it, and carry you through the future. It is developed at Harvard University, and all the content there has been vetted, so it's a high quality content, and it's completely free thanks to funding from the Amgen Foundation. So it's not something that you need to get a subscription for. It's always free and will remain that way. So here is some of the benefits to Lab Exchange. It is a way to learn science virtually. So as we are now currently all at home and exploring more online, this is one way to learn science. Two, it does create opportunities for deeper, authentic engagement with the process of science, and that's where these simulations really come into play. It's not just, here, let me read about a process, but really it lets you explore and learn scientific principles through doing. It also has assets there that help you see how you can be involved in STEM, not just on a particular side, not just in the lab bench, but also in other ways, because it includes things like narratives to bring a diverse set of voices into science, show people's journeys and how they got to where they are, and help them solve those complex challenges that everyone faces. Here are a few of the simulation features. We're going to jump into the site and let you explore those, but just an overview of the three main categories. One are these protocol simulations, and really this is meant to be an exploration opportunity. This is the lab bench scene. You can actually move and manipulate all of these pieces. There is a protocol, but you don't have to follow it. You can discover scientific principles just through playing. Another one is really focusing on scientific thinking, and these are the experimental design simulations. They cover sort of larger topics, things like how would you make a coronavirus vaccine, and help you think through what process overall, like what series of experiments are needed to get from the beginning and looking at genetic material to the end and using proteins for a particular vaccine. And then they have you apply what you understand about different techniques and their inputs and outputs to create that sequence. So first there's sort of a conceptual sequencing, and then there's a deep dive into each of those different techniques. And the last piece here are sort of the clusters. And this is how a lot of our content is grouped together, but this is one way for you guys to really explore a topic that you're interested in. So maybe you don't have a biotech class at your school. Maybe you've only heard about some of these. This is one way that you can get prepared and develop those skills if you want to take on a science internship, or if you want to explore in college different topics. If you want to make sure that you have all the foundations, this is one way you can learn on your own, learn through doing a lot of the techniques that you'll see later. So to that further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Deb O'Reilly to walk you through the platform. So you feel free to follow along as she opens up the platform. You can go to just labexchange.org and she's going to show you how to use it. I think you're on mute, Deb.
Let me stop sharing. Hold on. Are you sure?
We can hear you now.
I can hear you now.
All right. Okay, sorry about that. Here we go. Try that again. So first thing I want to do is take you to the Lab Exchange. As Mary said, if you go to www.labexchange.org, you'll be here in the platform. And then I'm going to show you quickly how to use the library here. One of the recommendations when you're in the library is to search up in this search bar, but then after you search a topic up in that search bar, to really look at what kind of content type you'd want to use. For example, on the platform, there's text, video, simulation, pathways, interactives, etc. The interactives and the simulations are some of the best ways to explore something because it's a little more hands-on and you have to be involved in the process. So with that said, I want to introduce you to the biotech cluster. A cluster is a whole bunch of assets put together in various pathways, and there is a cluster just on biotechnology concepts. So we wanted to show you that very quickly, and that is right here. This is the biotech cluster. And what's nice about the clusters is it will give you, these are each individual pathways on a technique that is currently used in biotechnology, but they also give you these little tours. So if you want to learn about micropipetting or what a restriction digest would look like, or how to ligate DNA and all that stuff, it'll show you like which of these pathways would combine together to be able to complete something in that area. Today, we were hoping to show you the tools of gel electrophoresis. So I'm going to click on that. This shows you a whole pathway here about gel electrophoresis, but specifically, we wanted to show you today how to use the gel electrophoresis sim. And that's going to load for us here. Now with the simulation, again, this is an interactive piece where you can learn about a skill in biotechnology that's used all the time to check verification of protein, DNA, if you've run a PCR reaction to see if you got the right product, all kinds of things. And we want you guys to be able to look at the parts of the sim and how it's going to work. For example, when you come into the sim, you're going to see, like Mary had mentioned before, you can pick a level. If you haven't ever worked with Lab Exchange, I recommend you start at level 1. And if you don't have a lot of extensive knowledge about a particular topic, start at level 1. But if you feel like you're comfortable with electrophoresis, you might start at level 3. But all of the sims are going to have this lab notebook component that's you can open or close. And it's going to have a lab bench for you here. And as Mary said, you can kind of go through the sim and just follow along, or you can just jump into the lab and just play around with things and investigate that way. But I think, Mary, am I right? Is this the time for you to jump back in?
Sure. We were going to give you guys time to play with this, but here's the sort of main takeaways. As you are exploring, you have 2 options here. Well, here's our challenge. We suggest you only use 2 of the 3 die options. That'll help it go a little faster since I know our time together is limited. But you have 2 options. You can either follow the protocol there and try to figure out the answer to the question this simulation poses. How does gel electrophoresis work to sort molecules? Or you can explore and try changing the different variables. See if you can answer, you know, one of many other questions, things like how does the direction change? How does the charge change the direction? Or what's the impact of changing the concentration? So this is your time to explore opportunity. I'm going to let you guys check out the simulation I posted there in the chat. That's the link to the gel electrophoresis one, and then see what you can discover. If you do have questions as you're working, feel free to pop them in the chat. But otherwise, feel free to play around. I saw someone posted, do you have to create an account? No, you don't. Anything you find in the library is free and available to you without an account. The benefits to creating an account are things you can like favorite things. You do it once, you can find it again. Kind of thing, like it'll track what you do and remember it for you, but you don't need an account. And it's actually available. I don't know where everyone's joining us from today, but it is available in a bunch of other languages. So if that's something that's a challenge to you, you can actually change the language. It'll say on the side, like language, to one of, I think, 11 other languages.
Today, all our participants are from the United States.
Oh, okay.
So I think, how much time do they have, Mary, to try this simulation out?
I think our time slot runs until just after 5. So maybe, you know, another 5 minutes or so. Whoops. Another 5 minutes or so. So at 4:57, we'll regroup here.
Yep. So, and for the participants, tomorrow we're going to have a scavenger hunt game on Lab Exchange. So, you know, explore the Lab Exchange platform and get familiar with it. So it'll be fun playing the game tomorrow. Also, for the participants, you know, as you play around with Lab Exchange, if you have any questions later today, you know, you can put them on Discord or, you know, in the help as well. And tomorrow, Ashley Young will be walking us, doing the scavenger hunt on Lab Exchange. So, you know, we'll be happy to address some of your questions at that time as well.
All right, folks, I know this was such a short time and you're probably having fun playing away on the simulation. It's true, I noticed Yuri posted if you don't complete the simulation, you can finish later. It will keep track of what you're doing as long as you don't close that tab. So feel free to work on it at your leisure. The last thing I wanted to post, I'm going to stick in the chat, is actually a Padlet. This is just sort of to track, you know, any thoughts you guys have. If you guys post there, I can respond to comments. This is just, you know, did you have any questions? What did you learn? What did you think? I leave it to you. You can fill it out or not. That's for reactions and feedback. As you guys are working, they are very interested in getting feedback, both from students like you and teachers like us, because they're trying to make this and help everyone learn science. So do, you know, feel free to reach out. Here are some other ways you can stay connected with Lab Exchange. You can follow us on social media. They have @Lab Exchange both on Facebook and Instagram. You can reach out to collaborate with us. They're always looking for users to help test new content, and they're building new things like the coronavirus experimental design is brand new. They're trying to follow a lot of science in the news. So they do look forward to connecting with you. You can find us under the People tab also if you want to reach out for mentoring. You can find Lab Exchange folks there, or people, other folks from our Harvard connections. So thank you so much for having us. Feel free to create an account if you'd like. It uses the same platform as edX. So if you've been exploring on edX.com, it's the same account. You can use that, and that just lets you favorite content. And you can feel free to share this with your network, with your teachers. And I won't bother you with the survey. You can just add your comments to that Padlet. So thanks so much. I'm going to turn it back over to you guys.
Thank you very much, Deb and Mary, for the quick tour today. Yeah, as a reminder, if you guys liked that simulation or came up with questions, Mary put the Padlet URL in the chat, and you can reach out to her there. But from the Amgen Foundation, we're very excited that this is a resource that is, you know, live as of this year in January, and has been able to help and support teachers and students in learning science through the pandemic. But we're really excited to increase access to these powerful laboratory simulations and a lot of other content. If you explore the library, there's a lot there. So any subjects that you're curious in science, take a look and see if it can help you in your learning. As Una mentioned, I'll join tomorrow for the scavenger hunt. So we're going to go back to Lab Exchange tomorrow and dig in a little bit deeper. But again, thank you to our teachers for joining for this quick overview, and I'll pass it over to Una.
Thank you, Ashley, and thank you, Mary Liu and Deborah. Really appreciate you joining us today and sharing the Lab Exchange platform with all the high school kids here. Thank you very much. And yeah, so now we move to the next item on our agenda today, which is we have Ansh, who is the president of Shooting Stars Foundation. He is a high school junior, and he is going to share with y'all his hackathon story. Like, you know, some of you who are not familiar with hackathon may be wondering, okay, what happens like from beginning to end, right? To have that whole picture. So Ansh is going to walk you through that now. Ansh, the floor is yours. You're on mute, Ansh. Padma, do you have to make him co-host? Padma?
I don't think so now. I think audio is on, having audio issues, I think.
Oh, is that okay?
Because I can speak.
Yes, even yeah.
So even if I'm not a host, right? So.
Oh, okay, okay, yep.
Is he logged in as Ansh or?
Yeah, Ansh Gupta.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, sorry about that. Is the audio okay? The quality
Yep.
fine? Okay, cool. So, all right, cool. I can go ahead and share. So, hey guys, my name's Ansh Gupta, and I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about my story, as well as some of the hackathon tips for you guys to take away and really get started with the art of hacking. So hey guys, my name's Ansh Gupta. I'm a junior at Washington High School, and on Discord you can tag me at Ansh, and I'll respond to you. Okay, great. So let's kind of go ahead and kind of get started with like how I got into technology and how I like kind of got into coding. So personally, when I was like young, I really used to hate coding. I thought it was really boring because my dad used to just sit on his table, code all day, and I thought that was super boring because I didn't really understand like what can you actually create with technology, right? I used to use it on a daily basis, but I didn't understand what I could make personally. And that all changed when I went to Alabama to visit my cousin, and he was using Java to create Minecraft plugins and like, you know, League of Legends skins and things like that using math. And I thought that was really cool, right? And so when I kind of saw that connection between technology and things that I liked, you know, it was kind of an eye-opening experience for me because I truly understood what it means to like technology and to code. And that's kind of how I got started with coding. So in the very beginning, you know, I started with my first language, Python, right? And I used to just make very simple games because what I liked was to make stuff, right? So the joy of actually creating something and playing with it, and you know, not kind of depending as a child, you know, on everything. You're getting everything, you know, you're getting games, but to actually create something was very cool to me. And so I created very simple games just to get myself off the ground, you know, get started, learn some of the basic stuff. But you know, eventually I kept on growing as a programmer, learning new things, you know, picking up new projects, and you know, by the end, I was, you know, creating a lot of different products and hackathons. And so, you know, although I like this art a lot, you know, oftentimes I kind of felt alone because I didn't really have a community that could support me in, you know, like creating cool stuff, right, using technology. And so that community is where I found hackathons, right? So hackathons kind of bring people together who really like to code and to think of ideas, right? So I think even beyond just coding, I feel like hackathons really like tend to use the right side of your brain, right? They really help you to think of ideas that are actually applicable in society, or you know, even to create fun stuff like one of the teams that we have in this hackathon. And so you can see that some of the stuff that I've created kind of reflects like this desire to build something to help society through technology. So for example, here at the top, you know, I built something that kind of recognizes and helps people in disasters all over the world. Here in the bottom left, you can see a mobile application that me and my team created to try to help BLM protesters kind of build data and to help advocate for George Floyd. And here at the bottom right, you know, I built something that could basically go ahead and track ventilators throughout the country and to really give the government a bird's eye view of what's going on with the country in terms of ventilators and PPE equipment and how they're distributed across the country. And so, you know, those sort of things where like you're able to identify a problem using the right side of your brain and to really kind of apply them into good solutions. I think that's the art of hackathon. And, you know, at the beginning, it's quite difficult, you know, but, you know, it's once you get over the learning curve, it's quite fun. And, you know, you get to make a lot of cool stuff. Okay. So I guess the next part of my thing, now that I'm kind of done with my story, is how do you actually apply it, right? How do I get started? How do I kind of go ahead and build such cool websites and apps and things like that? And I think I have one main philosophy when, you know, coding or picking up projects or really just expanding your technology within. It's really to pick up a project that you know for certain that you can't make. And that's my philosophy, is that whenever you're starting something new, right? For example, when I made the Hangman stuff, you know, whenever I made any of these mobile apps or websites, I never knew at the start how I was going to do it, right? And it's all about figuring it out. So when you look at it from the top, it looks so confusing, but all you really need to do is start, right? And just start somewhere, just looking into it. You know, you quickly find, okay, this is what I need to learn, X, Y, and Z. Oh, you know, it's super hard to learn this. But once I get more and more practice with it, you know, eventually you overcome and you're going to go ahead and finish that maze. And so, you know, there's there is a learning curve sometimes to learning some of these things, but you know, when you come out, you're going to become a much better hacker, a much better technological person, and you get to learn a lot of new cool things and actually build something out of it once you're done. And so that's been my experience in hackathons, where I come in knowing nothing, right, about a particular topic in which I want to, you know, really work at. And by the time I come out, you know, I've learned a lot, right? And so I hope that a lot of you guys can kind of share in that experience with me, where like by the time you come out, you know, you've really learned a lot. So even above prizes, even above everything else, it's all about learning in hackathons. Cool. So I guess my last slide here, and this is probably my biggest tip. You don't have to do it alone, right? So this learning curve, it does seem scary, but not as scary when you have somebody to help you, right? And so that's why we work as teams, right? And we tend to complement each other's skills. And in hackathons, I've met such cool people. I, you know, frequently hack with 2 people from Michigan. You know, I won a hackathon with somebody from Singapore. And so those experiences, like, you know, we were all uplifting each other, and we were all complementing each other's skills in order to create something that was really, really cool. And so, you know, it's more about collaboration. It's also, hackathons do encourage collaboration and things like that. And, you know, that's something that you should not, you know, turn a blind eye to. Collaboration is a heavy, heavy tool that you need to use to create something cool. And finally, a lot of developers will tell you this, but Google is your best friend. For sure, it is your best friend. Because the thing is that whenever you get a bug or you get a problem, it's very, very likely in technology, especially, that somebody else has also encountered a very similar problem, right? And so nowadays, it's like almost my automatic instinct to, like, every time I encounter a problem, my first solution, even before asking anybody else, is just to Google it. Because it's often the case that Google will just tell you, right? And it's quite helpful in that case whenever you're using Google. So definitely keep that mentality in mind when you're kind of, you know, doing your hackathon, that beyond your mentors, there's a very, very good online resource to help you kind of get across like the smaller nitty-gritty problems of, like, you know, how do you actually fix this bug, you know, or what's happening here, why is it throwing me this error? So yeah, I hope that this hackathon is a very positive and uplifting experience for you to really learn something new, like hackathons have always done for me. And I think with that, I'm going to go ahead and end my presentation. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Ansh. Thank you, Ansh. So I understand that, you know, all of you had, you know, some of the teams had, you know, some questions on, you know, if your team members were missing, or if some teams didn't have a mentor. So how do we want to take this, Ansh? Do you want people to, you know, put it on Discord, or do you want, you know, if they want to unmute themselves and give the team numbers, or how do you want to go about doing this?
Yeah, so you know, I think we're still in the middle of figuring out like the exact logistics. What I'm going to ask you to do right now, though, if you have a team member missing, or like, you know, you haven't been able to contact them, I'm going to go ahead and kind of ask you to put your doubts and stuff in #help on the Discord channel. I might release more instructions as to like how to, you know, submit support tickets or anything of that sort if you need help. But for now, just go ahead and do that. Any questions, by the way, on just like regular hackathon stuff, or like any general tips that you are confused about in this hackathon? Does anybody have questions like that? Free to take those. Oh yeah, go ahead, Ansh. You don't have to raise your hand, just unmute yourself. Yeah.
October?
Sorry,
we can hear you, Ansh. Gandhi?
Yeah, Ansh, your mic was a little bit not very good, so we couldn't hear you very well. Okay.
So his question was, how long will the hackathon last? Is it the entire month or just the weekend?
Just the weekend. So
just to clarify, you know, so we started today, right? You've been given your topics today. So, you know, you're already meeting with your mentors. So you're also going to be meeting with your mentors tomorrow. So you're going to do a lot of the planning beforehand, but the actual hackathon is on October 24th, which is a Saturday, and it's for 12 hours.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ansh. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. That is the best answer, I think. For Kagler's question, what coding language you'll be using to create our apps? You'll be creating. So if you already have coding experience, I think that is the best place for you to go is to our Flutter workshop. So Flutter is a language that you use to go ahead and code apps. And the great part about Flutter is that when you create an app on Flutter, it can deploy to both iOS and Android. So you're doing like a 1 in 2 sort of situation where you just have to make an app for one thing and it works for both systems. So yeah, we'll be using Flutter for the most part. Yeah, for this hackathon. This hackathon is virtual. Yes. Yeah. Anything else?
And during the next couple of weeks, the Discord platform is going to be open. So if you want to communicate, collaborate with your teams during the next 2 weeks, all the planning, everything can be done in the next 2 weeks. And the next session is tomorrow, same like today at 2 p.m. EDT, Eastern Daylight Savings Time. And it's again for 3 hours. We have but tomorrow, the first 1.5 hours, you will be on Discord with your mentors and with your teams, and you have a checklist for tomorrow as well, which will be published in the announcements, and it's also part of the participant guide that was already emailed to you. So if you go and look for the checklist for October 11th, you will see the checklist there. And so I think all of you would have gotten an assignment today to go think about the idea, right? Like you've decided the topic with your team as to what you're going to work on. And hopefully your project manager of your team has set up a Google spreadsheet. Set up a spreadsheet on the Google Drive. And if any of the teams have not been able to accomplish this, right, go ahead and if you can, as I said, the Discord platform is open. You can meet later today or tomorrow morning and, kind of finish all the items on the checklist for today. If you were not able to complete anything on the checklist, if you want to meet later on today and finalize that, that would keep you on track for the hackathon. And in the spreadsheet, I think your assignment today is to for all of you to brainstorm and put down all your ideas. So you can work as a team tomorrow and decide on the idea. So that's an important exercise today. And for tomorrow, what you will be working on is there are 3 main parts to what you want to accomplish tomorrow. First, as a team, decide on the idea. And we want to make sure that you look at everybody's idea and you vote on it, right? Like that's, why somebody, look at the whys of the idea and see as a team, which is the idea that all of you resonate with, right? Like as I went through in the Perfect Idea workshop in the beginning, it's very important that all of you resonate with the idea, and that's where you get your energy to work on it, right? Because you're passionate about it. So look at the idea. And the other one if you look at the participant guide, we have provided you the judging rubrics as well. So the key thing for you to look at is one of the important things is ideation, whether the idea is going to solve the problem, right? Out of the 4 topics which you pick, does it is it relevant to the topic, right? So that's one of the important judging criteria. And then the next judging criteria is innovation. If you come up with an idea that is that doesn't already exist, right, then there's additional points for that. And the next part is the technology, the functionality, right? The technical functionality and the design. So tomorrow, what you'll be working on for part of your time is on the idea, selecting the idea, which is going to address the first 2 judging rubrics, which is the ideation and the innovation rubrics. Then you go on to coming up with the design platform, right? So the technical lead can take more leadership on that and decide, okay, are you going to develop a website or are you going to do an app to come up with a solution based on your idea? So that's the next step. And then the third step would be to come up with a design. Now, okay, you're going to do a website and you've decided, let's say you're going to work on fun ways to celebrate events, right? So you've decided your topic. Let's say you decide you want to do an app for it. right? So then your next step is to come up with, okay, what is my app going to have, right? Based on your idea. Your idea could be you're going to have a game, to make it fun, maybe a trivia game on, on a particular festival. So, and then, or whatever you're trying to do with the app, right? So then you have to lay down the features of what the app is going to have, like how do people get into the app? What are the must-have features? What is it that's going to make it fun, right? Because your topic is fun ways to celebrate festivals, birthdays, and all of that. So what is it that's going to make fun? So what are your features? The good to have features, the must-have features, right? There are certain features that the product must have in order to solve the problem and also to engage people, right? So, and then you can look at your good to have features and what are the wow factors. So as I said, the third part of the rubric is your design and the functionality, right? So once you put down your, but for tomorrow, you're only going to work on the design, right? Because the functionality is going to happen when you code, but you have to plan what functionality your product is going to have. So the planning is tomorrow. So you design what's going to be in your product and, and how are you going, what functionalities are going to be there, right? So you have to look at what the end result is and then design it accordingly. And also is, with the design, you have to look at the audience. So, when I shared the perfect idea presentation in the beginning, it's about know your customer, right? So depending on the audience, that's how you have to decide what the user interface is going to be, right? So take care of all those aspects as part of your design. And then the fourth part of the judging rubrics is the presentation, right? So you have to, as part of the hackathon, you will design the solution and then you will code the solution. And then you have to present it. You have to present it to the judges along with the demo of your product, right? So in the presentation, what we are really focusing on is the teamwork, right? Find a way to showcase your teamwork, like, what role each of you have played in as part of the hackathon, right? And the other key aspect you're looking for is your learning experience. As part of the presentation, share your learning experience, like what did you learn through this hackathon, right? It could be technical skills, it could be behavioral skills, it could be certain values, it could be the experience, it could be the teamwork, whatever. Like each of you, if you can have one slide where you talk about what you actually learned from this hackathon, what was useful for you from this hackathon. So that would be good. So, and also as part of the presentation, what you're looking for is the branding and marketing, right? The branding of the product, right? Because you want your product to stand out in terms of, it's the name, the branding for your product. That's also important. That's part of the presentation rubric. And then the fifth part of the rubric is the wow factor. It's like, it's just like, it's better than it just stands out than the rest of the products, then that would get some additional weightage. So these are the 5 judging rubrics for the hackathon. And so tomorrow, the 3 parts. One is, firming up on the idea. And then the next one is deciding on the platform. And the third part is the design. And then next weekend, you have the technical sessions, right? Flutter and HTML. So you'll have workshops on Flutter and HTML. You have on the schedules, and it's also on Discord. You can go look at the dashboard. It will give you the schedule for next weekend. So again, the sessions are from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time. And so there's each on Saturday and Sunday, there's going to be one session on Flutter and one session on HTML. So totally there's 2 sessions on Flutter and 2 sessions on HTML, and they are on the 17th and 18th. You are most welcome to attend both the sessions, although, for your product, if you're, let's say you're just choosing to do a website, but you can still attend the Flutter session. We wanted to, make use of it. We want you to make use of the technical sessions that are being offered. So go ahead and, you can attend both the sessions. But if you're a beginner, we do recommend that you attend at least, the HTML session. So you can add value to your team, right? You can learn coding and then you can help your team out. So that's for the technical sessions next weekend. yep, that's basically what we had for today. And so tomorrow to 2 o'clock, you can connect straight on to Discord. You don't have to join the Zoom. You can go straight onto Discord, meet with your teams and meet with your mentors. And at 3:30, like today, we will join back on Zoom, where we have a great panel of Amgen leaders from different functional areas. Like when Rohini was presenting today, she was talking about research, manufacturing, sales and marketing, operations, and then data science and technologies. So we have actually requested one leader from each of these fields to come and be present on the career panel. And we've also opened up Pigeonhole. Most of you on the email that was sent to you, there was a link to Pigeonhole. It's open today now as well. If you have questions for the panelists, go ahead and put them in Pigeonhole. So, the panelists will be answering the questions. I think there were, when I saw this, there was more than 20, 25 questions on Pigeonhole already. So they will try to address all your questions, whatever. If you have questions in career, if you have questions, and we also sent you the profile of all the speakers for tomorrow. So you can look at their LinkedIn profile, see, if you have any specific questions for them, go ahead, put them on Pigeonhole. Even if they don't have time to talk to it tomorrow, if it's for a specific person, we'll try to have that addressed and, emailed out to you, or, if it's specifically for any one of the speakers. Yeah, feel free to put down your questions on Pigeonhole. And so that session is from 3:30 to 4:30 tomorrow, Eastern Daylight EST, and then from 4:30 to 5, like today, you'll be working on the Lab Exchange platform. So tomorrow we're going to have a game. It's a scavenger hunt, and you can play and at the same time learn on navigating through Lab Exchange, which will be helpful for you later on. And so we have, we have 6 minutes if any of you have any questions, and at 5:30 we will close this workshop. Any questions, or even if you have any feedback on, how did you like your sessions today, or
there's some questions on the chat, on the couple of questions saying, do we have to use Flutter?
So if not necessarily, even if you want to develop an app, if you know of some other product that, some other something else that you can use, go ahead, use it. You don't, the workshops we are offering are Flutter and HTML, but you're not limited to just using Flutter. If you know any other app development software, go ahead, use it. You can develop, there was a question about, do we have to build an app or can we build a website? Yes, you can build a website. There's no limitations on what you can build, app or a website. And there's a question on, are we next 2 weeks, are we working with our team or no? You'll be working with your team for the next 2 weeks. As I said, the Discord platform is open. You can chat with your teams. You can put questions for the mentors on Discord. They'll be looking at it. And so, yeah, you can work with your teams for the next 2 weeks to, to make sure that at the end of the hackathon, you have a good product that you're proud to be presenting to the judges. Would we be able to use x86 assembly? Ansh, can you take that? I don't know what x86 assembly is.
I don't think Ansh is on the call now.
Okay. Where can we find the information for Flutter? So it's on the schedule, and your Zoom links will be posted in the dashboard. So if you, all the Zoom links for all the sessions will be on the dashboard. You can use that, and I guess that's what you mean by information for Flutter.
Yeah, there's a workshop next week.
Yeah, there's a workshop next week. You can look in your schedule, and the schedule is also on the dashboard. You can look there as well. Again, it's from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. EST, Saturday and Sunday next week, October 17th and October 18th.
There's one more question on Manasi.
Okay, are the workshops going to have different content for the different days, or are they the same in 2 different days in case someone can't get to one of the days? It's going to be different content. So, so there's going to be, on Saturday, you have one Flutter workshop, and on Sunday, you have one Flutter workshop. So, it's going to be different content. They'll start with the basics, the widgets, and, on Flutter on the first day, and then they will continue to more Flutter concepts on Sunday. So it would be important that you attend both the sessions. And same thing for HTML. The concepts will be on both days. It'll be different concepts on both days. So it's 5:30. All the participants can leave the Zoom call and join us back again tomorrow at 2 p.m. EST.
I'll stop the live streaming.
Yeah.